Hey, welcome back to the channel, and today we've got another Sudoku from rockratzero, who I've done puzzles up before, and they've always been excellent. This one, of course, is a Fog of War, as you can see. Again, some of my favorite stuff. So let's get started on the rules for this one. It's called Garden Path Lighting, first off, and there's an interesting graphical version of this one. I'm not sure if it's one that's playable, but on the Logic Masters Germany website, it's quite nice looking. Something to check out if you'd like to do. But anyway, so Garden Path Lighting by rockratzero. What are the rules? So we've got normal Sudoku rules apply. So every row, every column, and every 3x3 box contains the digits 1 through 9 once each. And we've got fog, so some cells are hidden by fog, meaning you cannot see their contents. The fog will be revealed when an adjacent digit is correctly filled. The intent of these puzzles is to make logic moves rather than guessing and using the fog reveal to know whether you are correct. So all that means is that if you were to put a digit, let's say here, everything surrounding it, including that digit, if you were correct in getting that digit, all this fog would disappear, and you'd be able to start seeing the clues beneath them. There's only two other rules on this one. So we've got killer cages. Some cells are surrounded by dotted lines called cages. So you can see some of these peeking out in here. In those cells, digits cannot repeat in a cage. The digits in a cage sum to the value in the top left corner if given. So let's say in this one, you've got a 3 up here. So whatever this cage ends up going to, those must equal 3. Same goes here. However this cage ends up turning out, they must equal 8, so on and so forth throughout all of these cages. And then there will be clearly more of them. Well, not clearly, but there's most likely to be more cages hidden within the fog. And then we have our inequalities. So the inequality symbol, which we cannot see now, it would look like a V, essentially, and the symbol points to the lower of the two adjacent digits. So if you were to think of a V, the open end of the V, this side, would be pointing to the larger digit, the smaller, trying to get this so you can see. And I can't get my directions going. The open end points to the bigger one, smaller one points to the lesser digit. We'll get to it eventually. I'm sure somewhere in this fog we'll find 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, who knows. But those are the rules, and let's get started on this one and see what we can do. I'll leave this like this because the top up here is just talking about regular Sudoku rules. So the first place to start, well, there's a couple of places. The most obvious would be in this 3 here and this 4 here. Now, while we can't see anything beyond this area, so this is the only thing we can see, we do know that a sum of 3 in a killer cage can only be a single or a double celled cage. This one clearly goes beyond the fog. If it didn't, you'd see little dots coming this way. Hey, this is future Lemur. We had a audio issue, so I'm going to do a little bit of a talk over while that is occurring. So essentially what I was saying here was the 3 obviously has to be a 1, 2, because those are the only options. The 4 on the bottom there also has to be the same thing. It has to be a 1, 3, because there's only 2 ways to possibly, or one way to make a 3 or a 4, which is a 1, 3. Now, when I'm going up here to the 8, all I'm really saying is that I know it's at least a 3-cell cage because we see 2 of them, and one of them's going off the screen. But because it's an 8 cage, we know it must be only 3, and therefore there must be a 1 on it as well, because you can't remove a 1 from a 3-cell cage and still make 8. So therefore we get a 1 there, and then we can look across and see how that affects our 1-2 pair, which I should be doing here in just a second. I don't recall exactly what I was speaking of. I was probably going over the 8s again. So anyway, that clears up some space now, where we can start having some new information seen, and you can see now we have this greater than symbol, so we know which one of those is the higher of those two digits. Now going back down here, just doing a quick cleanup, there must be a 1, 3 there, so therefore in the 8 there could not be a 1. Now I'm also looking back at this 8, and I'm going to be looking over at the 2 and saying that there's only two ways you can make an 8 in a 3 cell. It's 1, 2, 5 or 1, 3, 4. The 2 therefore excludes the 1, 2, 5, so it must be a 1, 3, 4. And then we can put in the 4 and we get some more space open to see what's going on. Now on this, trying to recall, I was looking for, looking at the 13 cage. It must be a 4-cell cage because you cannot have a 5-cell cage equal anything less than 15. I'm not sure I'm getting very much out of that in terms of what's working there or not, but I think there's going to be an instance where you cannot do, you cannot do 2, 3, 4, 5? Yeah, because you'd get up to 14, so therefore, 14, so therefore there must be a 1 somewhere within that cage. And we could note that. Do I note that is the question. And I'll have to take a look for a second because we have a 1 up there and the 3 pointing down into that 13 cage. Now, I do not recall what I am talking about, so this might be, yeah, this is where I finally get to the point where I know there has to be a 1 there. So therefore I put it in, and I can use an X-wing to determine that in the region number 8 there must be a 1 in those top 3 digits. Now, not sure where I'm looking here. I'm not using my mouse on this one to designate the areas where I'm looking at. It's kind of off screen, so it becomes a little hard to remember as I recorded this thing probably a couple of weeks ago, actually. So I was going back and look at the 9 cages or anything there I can use. It's a 3-cell 9 cage, but I don't believe that does much. And at this point, I realize that my audio is out, so I'm going to switch you back over to past Lemur. I do not know how long that audio was cut out for. I'm going to pause. Well, am I going to pause? If I have to do a slight dub over, I'll do a slight dub over because I do not want to pause video. I haven't had my audio cut out in a while, so I'm glad I peered over there. If there was any gap in sound, I was really just going through whether or not this 13, what the values could be, because there has to be 4 digits in it. It would have to have a 1 because you can't do 2, 3, 4, 5. And that was kind of the distance I got with it. So if that part of it got cut out, I apologize, and hopefully my mic will stop being a pain in the butt sometimes. So what I was moving on to, and I guarantee you did not hear, was looking at this 9. So as we had talked previously, the 8 in a 3-cell always had to have a 1, and it had to be 2 different combinations of digits. Well, the 9 was that, I briefly mentioned 9s. The 9s was the slight variant from that possibility of 3 digits having to have a 1, because you could do a 2, 3, 4. Now, if that was the case, so you either have a 1 or you have a 2, I guess. I'm not sure if that does much for us. Now, if it is a 2, 3, 4, we know the 2 has to go here. If it has a 1 in it, we know the 1 has to go here. So does that tell us that this has to be 1 or 2? Let's think about that for a second. I think it does, because as I mentioned, there's, 3 different ways to make a 9 in a 3-cell cage? Or is it 4? Anyway, there's a number of them that have to have a 1, so either the 1 is over here because this is C is a 1, or the other version is the 2, at 2, 3, 4. which therefore this has to be a 2. So in either case, this has to be a 1 or a 2. Again, this is not, I don't think it's giving me information just yet, but it is there for the moment. Is there something we can do with this inequality sign that poked its head out recently? Now we know the bare minimum here, because we've got a row that already has 1, 2, 3, and 4, is 5 and 6. Now 5 and 6, if you hadn't figured it out, equals 11. So that would mean the absolute most this could be would be 3. Well, we know we can't have 1 or 2, so this has to be 3, and these have to be 5, 6. Otherwise, it breaks, because if you did, let's say you did 5, 7, which would be the very next lowest possible, you'd end up with 12, and this would have to be 2. So yeah, this has to be 3, this has to be 5, 6, and this digit has to be larger than this one, so we get 6, 5. Okay, that was the way to go. I did not look at that quite as early as I should have, but we are there nonetheless. Now, what does that leave with these? Is there anything here that we can work with? I don't think so just yet. It's just 7, 8, and 9. I don't believe that requires penciling in just yet. Now, this 10, we don't really know what it does. We see a faint little glimmer of it poking into here, but it could continue down. It could do just about anything. Same goes with this cage. We know it does something like that. We don't know anything about it. And that tells us what? Is there something we can use with this 13? Looks similar to what we did here. Now we know these at bare minimum have to be 3 and 4, which is 7. That leaves at least 6, or at most 6 left over. But it feels like there's too many options. Well, if we know, no, because we know this is at maximum a 6. So this is, it has a 1 in it. We know it already has a 1 in it because of the off microphone logic that I created here previously, where you could not have 2, 3, 4, 5 because that would equal 15. Sorry, not 15. 14. So if this is 7, these would be 1. Sorry, my brain is getting muddled for a second here. If these are 3, 4, which equals 7, then we have 6 left over. These would be 1, 5. Then these could be something that equals 8. These would be 1, 4. You continue for a little bit there, and that doesn't seem like it's giving us a ton, or at least it doesn't seem like it gives us enough to differentiate what's there. So if that's the case, what do we have left to work with? I mean, maybe we can look at this. Can we rule out maybe a 2, 3, 4 by what this does to this 13? Well, let's take a look at it, I guess. It's a shot, at least. So if this is 2, this has to be 3 and 4, because 2, 3, 4 equals 9. And you obviously, you put a 2 here, you can't put a 1 in here. So if this was 3, 4, I'm just going to pencil mark it, but it's not a given, it's just a thought at this moment. We end up with a 1, 2, 3, 4, which means that these digits have to be 5 and 6, which does break this clue. If these were 5 and 6, they'd be equal to 11. We know we have another 1 in them, so that's 12, but then we'd have to put another 1 in it to equal 13, which we cannot do. So this is not a 3, it's not a 2, 3, 4, so this has to be a 1, which is correct. Now that that 1 shows there, this one has to be a 1, which is correct. Good. Now we know that these two have to equal 8, it can't be 2, 6, so it has to be 3, 5. Because you can't do, obviously you can't do 7, 1 to equal 8, because we already have a 1. You can't do 6, 2, because we've got a 2 looking at. The only other way to make 8 into cages, therefore, is 3, 5. Now, this forces this to be 4 and 6 at the bare minimum, which is 10. This would be 11. These would have to be a 2. So these are 4 and 6. So we're starting to pull away. Oh, that 1 is going to give us our 3 and our 1, which is nice. Opens up a couple little things. I want to go back here just for a second before I ponder these extra clues. I don't think these are going to do anything else for us. Same as what logic we had over here. They have to be from 7, 8, and 9, but there's nothing quite yet there to say what is what. So, going over here, this isn't all that great either, because you can make 13 a number of ways. You can do, let's see, 9, 4, 8, 5, and 7, 6. So there's nothing there that's going to say, yes, this is how it has to be, or any one of those options actually is removed from the equation. So do we have anything? Oh, let's look at the 3s. I just noticed those. They're all pointing into this cage, which forces this to be a 3. Okay. Now we've got a 14 here. We can probably do something with that, that 7, 8, 9 we were talking about. Let's put those in as options. Now, if this was a 9, that would force these to equal 12, which means this would have to be a 2. That doesn't work. If this was an 8, this creates 11. This would have to be a 3, which doesn't work. So this is 7, and then this is 4. Now, I think I will mark these in because we're down to only 2 options now. So that's much more palatable than the 3. So these are 8 and 9. Do we have any other Sudoku that's staring at us? One up here. I'm going to resist doing it for now. The 2 has to be down here. It's not great. 6 is, yeah, so the 6. Where does the 6 go in this box? Well, the 6 sees these, and all of these are already a given, so this is 6. We don't have really any indication where a 5 can go in this column, other than it can't go there. So we're going to have some, 5, 7, 8, 9 groupings. Now, we know what these are, these 3. They're from 2, 8, and 9. Okay, so that actually will help us. Because if these are 2, 8, and 9, where do the 8 and the 9 go in this box? Well, they can't go here, and they can't go any here. So this is one of them. This has to be the other one, which then tells us what these 2 have to be, which is 5 and 7. Sorry, distracted by my phone again. This one has to be a 4, therefore. That gives us a little bit of a clearance here. Now, it does look like this is going to be possibly a 3-cell 10. Is that correct? Now, it can't be, we know it has to at least be 3 cells. If it were to extend into this cell, it would have to extend into this cell, and you cannot have a 5-cell 10. So that doesn't happen. Now, the only other place it could go, if you're looking at our dotted lines, would be this way. Now, that would be a 4-cell 10, which is theoretically possible. It could be 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the only way you can do it. But as you can see, there's 1s looking at it, so there's absolutely no way a 1 could be in here anywhere. So this is a 3-cell 10 cage. And we can't use a 1. 3 cells for at the bare minimum now is 2, 3, 4, which is 9. So it just has to be 1 different from that. So this has to be 2, 3, 5, which is going to give us a 5 because a 5 sees both of these. So this is 5. Now, we know these are 2 and 3. What else do we know? Well, the 5 is going to see this, so that's going to be 3 and 5. That 3 is going to look back and give us 2 and 3. And fog is clearing, so that's telling us we're doing things correctly, which is nice. We can remove that 2, just to clean things up a little bit. Now, if you'll notice up here, we have a killer cage that does not have a value. If it did, it would be up in the top left corner, which would be up in here. But since there's no value there, we don't know what this one is, so it's probably going to just be differentiating digits that cannot repeat within a cage, something along those lines. That is something we will just keep in mind for the future. This 14 now that's been displayed, it's a 2-cell 14. There's only 2 ways to make 14 in a 2-cell. That's 9, 5, and 8, 6. We've got a 5 looking at it, so it cannot be 9, 5. So this has to be 8, 6, and we've got an 8 right here. So this is 8 and 6. And that opens things up even further. This is not 8. Now, that's given us a 3-cell 9 cage that's opened up for us. Now, in this instance, we can't rule out, or can we rule out, whether it has a 1 in it? Now, it could have a 2. The 2 could be here. It could be a 2, 3, 4. The 2 would be here. The 3 would be here. The 4 would be here because of these 2 digits looking at it. Now, if it had a 1 in it, the options for a 3-cell 9 cage are 1, 2, 6, which it cannot be because there's a 6 looking at all of the cages. And then there's 1, 3, and 5. Now that is possible, it looks like, because the 5 could be here and these could be 1 and 3. So it looks like we cannot get a ruling on this 9 just yet, unless I'm missing something. Now, what else has shown its ugly head? The 6, there's not quite enough information there to make any use of it. Because it could be a 2-cell digit, it could be a 3-cell digit. 3-cell cage, not digit. Speak proper. Now, if it was 3, it would have to do this because this other cell, or this other cage, is popping its head on over. But that doesn't rule out this could just be a 2-cell, or it could be a 3-cell. I don't think we can use that just yet. Now, looking back, is there any Sudoku that we've missed that's starting to get into play since we've put in a few numbers now? Not really seeing much. There's a possibility of 3s there. We already know one of those is 3. The 4s, I mean, we know there's 1s and 4s here. I don't know if I want to keep running down this line, because it doesn't appear like it's going to give me much. No, 6s, there's a few 6s, but is there anything that I missed in my markings already? I do not see anything. Okay. Then, where, oh where, is our next spot to look? Now, do I want to go back to this and say 7, 8, 9? Maybe it will give me some use. I mean, no, this can't be 8. But that's all it does. So it's not really that good. Okay. I must be missing something. Like I said, this 13 still doesn't really have anything I can do with it. Because of the too many options. Now, I can't do anything with a 1 there, because like I said, this could still be 2, 3, 4. Or it could have been... what was the other ones I said it could be? It could be 2, 3, 4. It could be 1, 3, 5. Yeah, 1, 3, 5. Okay, no, that's still not determined. Okay. Alright, where, oh where? What am I not seeing? Well, I mean, a tiny little thing, but we know 4 can't be in this because we just said, well, no, we didn't. We said if it's a 2, 3, 4, that 4 would go right there. 4 is in one of those 3, but that's not great. Why have I hit a little snag here? Is there a row or a column I'm not looking at that's useful? Is there like a single digit maybe that sees a bunch of other digits? Like this digit here, it sees quite a few things, but not quite enough, I wouldn't think. It looks like it could be 4, 7, or 9. Because it can't be 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, or 8. But that doesn't do enough. Okay. Now, I don't know what this cage total equals, and I don't even know if it has a cage total just yet. I know one of these has to be 5. Change my perspective, maybe that'll help me. Where, oh where? I'm going to be saying that a few times now. I feel like it's got to be one of these clues that popped out and I'm just not seeing something. So we said it could be 2, 3, 4. These wouldn't be 2. We know that this would be the 2. This would be the 3. And this one would be the 4. Or it was going to be 1, 3, 5. And this would be a 5. And this would be 1 and 3. Like that. Oh, well, I guess that does tell us something that I didn't realize. Either way we look about it, well, good thing I wrote them in then. I was avoiding doing it because I thought it might have created too many random pencil marks. But either way you cut it, there has to be a 3 here, which is, I think, the point which rules out this as a 3 and puts a 3 here. And there we go. Okay. Now we know that this is a 20, so that was just a little thing I missed because I didn't put in my markings, and I probably should have. Now, if this is a 3, this has to be a 9, because 3 and 7 equals 10, so this would have to equal 10. Can't do it in 3 and 4. Clearly doesn't work, so it would be 7, so that would be a 13. So this is 9. Now that's going to tell us our 6. Well, it's not going to necessarily tell us our 6. It's going to tell us what the 6 cage is, but we're also going to get this digit right here. So we've got a 9, 3, which is 12, so this has to be 8. That's going to give us our 9 and our 8 and our 9. We can remove 9s from those now. There we go. And what does that open up for us? Well, in a 6, I don't know if this is going to do much either, but since the 9, once I marked it and it seemed to open itself up a little bit, there's only 2 ways to do it, which is 1, 5, and 2, 4. Now this clearly can't be 1 or 2. So this can't be 4 or 5. Does one of these break the 9? If it was 4, 2, this would be 1, 3, and that's 5, which works perfectly fine. If it was 5, 1, this would be 3, 4, and that equals 2. It just works perfectly fine. Okay, so that doesn't help me. Now that we've put we've put a couple of 9s in here. I don't know if that does much either. We're just ruling out 9s from these, so there has to be a 9 in here somewhere. It just means one of these has to be 9, but also the row would give you that. Oh, there we go. The 9, I didn't see it. That rules that. So we get 7, we get 9, we get 8. Okay. This now has to be a 5 and a 7. And nothing's looking at it right now. So what are we left with in this column? And this 13 is starting to come into a picture here, but I'm going to get to that in a second, I think. So in this column, we need 1, 2, and 4. Cannot make... Well, yeah, I can. Kind of. We can't have a 1, 2 pair here, because if we did, this is broken. So this cannot be 4. Which means this has to be either 1 or 2, which means there has to be a 4 down here, which means this is not 4. So that's 5 and 1. And that does open this up. So we are correct. Now we know there has to be a 1 on this now, so we know this is 1. Get rid of those marks. These two had to be 2 and 4. Which means these two have to be from 6 and 7. Is that correct? Yes, it is. And they don't see anything just yet. But that 1 is going to be pointing here. So we've got rid of our 1. So this is a 2, 3, 4. And we can put a 2 here because of that one now sees it. Okay, we are moving. This 5 sees over here, so I can start cleaning up my marks. Is there anything else that's looking at these that I haven't noticed? Don't think so. Okay. What else have we created? We've got a 4-cell 15, which I don't know is going to be too much just yet. Let's go back to our 13. We have reduced it slightly because we no longer can have a 9 in it. And I'm wondering if the 9s are going to be anything a bit more important. So this 13, it could be 6, 7, or it could be 8, 5. And they would both have specific ways of going about it. So if it's 8, 5, this would be 8, this would be 5. If it was 6, 7, this would be 6, this would be 7. Okay, that doesn't actually give us anything. It doesn't appear like it does, at least. Okay, so let's go back and look at our 9s a little bit, because we know none of these are 9s. Can this ever be a 9? The answer is no, because we've got this 4-cell 15 cage. We know it's a 4-cell 15 cage because we can see how the cage interacts here. So there's no way it could do something like that, because these dots would never be there. Now, if this, so going back to can it be a 9 here, the answer is no, because then we'd have 3 cells that have to equal 6. They would have to be 1, 2, 3. We already have a 2 in the cage. All that to say there has to be a 9 here in one of these two cages, which doesn't do us much good. There has to be a 9 in one of these two cages because that sees that. Though what's left over here is a 1 and a 9, because the 1 can't go there either. So this is 1, 9, which forces this to be a 7. Let's get rid of our mark there. This has to be from 4, 6, and 7 for this column, and this can't be 4, so this is 4. Get rid of that. This is 6 or 7. And just checking my markings again, make sure I haven't missed anything as I've been looking elsewhere. Don't believe so. So if I don't think I can rule anything out of this 15 cage per se. I guess I could look at this digit and it might give me some type of restriction, but I don't know if it's useful enough. I mean, it could be 1, 5, 8, or 9. Now we said we can't have a 9 anywhere in here because, well, that's not true. We can't have a 9 here because it would force one of these to be a 1, and this one sees all of them, so it's not a 9. If it was an 8, we'd have to have a 1, 2, 4, which also sees a 1. 8 and 1, 2, 4 equaling 7, so 8 and 7. So this is not an 8. So we've kind of pared it down to 1 and 5. I don't know that we can do anything with the 5. There's going to be too many options, I think. Or there might be a couple of options on how to make the 10 and 3. So that might not be a great place to keep looking on this one. What else do we have? We might be into Sudoku territory, so I'll start poking around there. See if we can see something that we wouldn't otherwise see. Well, 2s, there has to be a 2 in one of these. Two up. There's a bunch of possibilities for 2, so I'm not really seeing anything there. 3s, there's not much. I mean, one of these 2, but it's not really pencil markable at the moment. 4s are similar. 5 again. One of these 2 is a 5, but I mean, I guess I can put that in because it does tell us that one of these has to be a 5, so the other 3, whichever ones they are, do have to equal 10. So that might be usable. Let's continue Sudoku just for a second anyway. See if there's something more obvious. One of these has to be a 5. No. Looking around for anything that's going to be useful, and right now I'm not seeing anything. Let's just finish up. Just to make sure. I'm not seeing anything there. What are these? Maybe there's something here. I don't think there is, but I'm going to take a look anyway. We need 2, 6, and 7. No, nothing there. Okay. Maybe it is something to do with this then. Nothing popped up in here, right, that I can continue to pare away at? No, it doesn't look like it. Well, we do actually. I see something that I wouldn't have noticed. In this row, we have to put a 2 somewhere, but it can't be any of these because this 2 sees that one. So we are forced to put a 2 here and a 4 here. Now, granted, those are small beans, but it's something. I also could have just used this as being, we already knew there had to be a 2 here and it's pointing here, but that's way too simple. Okay. All right, maybe we need to go back to this 15. Just want to do a quick check on a couple of these rows just to make sure. Yeah, I don't see anything quite obvious there. So we know we've got a 5, and we have to have 3 digits that equal 10. What does that do for us? Well, it tells me there's no 9 or 8 in here, which does actually give me a little something because it's 8 CZ, so one of these has to be an 8, which doesn't look very useful, but it does point back here. So we get 9 and 8. Now we're going to know what these 3 digits are because this row is almost there. They have to be 4, 6, and 8. This is not 4. These have to be from 1, 5, and 9. So are we forced to put anything in here that makes good use? Let's put them in so we can maybe figure out a mathematical solution to this 15. So we know there has to be a 3 up here, and there has to be a 7. This can't be 3. And the other options are from 1, 5, and 9. So maybe this digit here we should focus more on. It's not 1, it's not 2, it's not 3, 4, 5, 6, or 8. We said it can't be 9. We said this one can't be 9 either, so I can just get rid of that. And I could have just done that. But let's continue on this one. Like I said, it can't be 1, can't be 2, can't be 3, can't be 4, can't be 5, can't be 6, and can't be 8. And because of this can't be 9, so the only thing it can be is 7. So that's going to pop that one wide open. And now our fog is gone. And this is a 1, 5, so we now get the 9 and the 1. These are from 2 and 3, if I'm reading that. No. 3 and 9. Sorry, there's a 2 right there. I just blind for a second. Let's get rid of all these markings. Okay, so now we know that we've got 6 and 7, which is 13. So this has to be 2. We can remove those numbers. Is there anything else we got there? I don't think so. Like I said, this cage is going to be a differentiation just by there being a repeat somewhere in here. Now we know this can't be... Wait, I did something wrong here, but let's get rid of those before we try to make any assumptions with it, which we shouldn't be. These are from 2, 6, and 8. There is no 7 because we've proved a 7 here. So this is 6 here, and this is 7. So these are not 6. Those are 2 and 8. This is 6. Those were just... I must have had a typo in there. I know I didn't really do anything with it, so no harm, no foul. 2 and 8. Okay. This has to be 13. Okay. If this is a 13 cage and 2 cells, this clearly can't be a 3. So this has to be 9. So this has to be 3. That's going to give us our 1 and our 3. 9, this has to be 4. So let's get rid of our 4. This is now a 6-8 pair. And like I was saying, we cannot repeat an 8. So this has to be 2 and 8. And where's something with a 1? There it is, 5 and 1. This still does not want to give up its secrets. So this has to be 6 and 9. If those are 6 and 9, this does now give it up. This has to be 8, and this has to be 5. These have to be 4 and 7. We've got a 7 here, so that's 4. That's 7. Now, these two digits have to be from 7 and 6. We've got a 6, so 7, 6, 5, 7. And we are almost out of this one. So we need a 2 up here, and we need a 5 up here. These two have to be from 8 and 9. Let's put those in. That's, again, this cage is going to give us our final touches. Since these are 6 and 8, this can no longer be an 8, so that's 9. That's 8, 6, and 8. And coming down here, we get 9 and 6, and then this row is 6 and 4. And there we go. You solved the puzzle. Hey, it's Sven's birthday, apparently. If you guys do enjoy these puzzles, I do all my solves on Sven's Sudoku pad, which is linked in all my descriptions. If you want to help him out, go to Patreon, buy him a cup of coffee or something like that. Much appreciated. He does a great job in creating all these things and putting all the wonderful features that it has in it. So click on those links and support Sven. Anyway, that was Garden Path Lighting by rockratzero. Good puzzle. I got stumped a couple of times because I just missed looking at a specific limitation in one of these things, but overall it flowed quite well once I saw what I was missing. So hope you all enjoyed that one, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks.